Welcome to Describing the Skybox, the podcast that's like a book club for people who don't think that books reward them enough for being good at them. I'm Chad Remington.
And I'm Andy Kinnick.
And today, we're going to be talking about Klonoa 2, Lunatea's Veil, a game that was developed and published by Namco and released in 2001 on the PlayStation 2, and received a remaster developed by Monkeycraft and published by Bandai Namco Entertainment, and released in 2022 on Windows, Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X and S.
But first, you can give us a like or a rating, subscribe to us on Blue Sky. It would be greatly appreciated. Chad, can you describe Klonoa 2?
Klonoa 2 is a platformer. It is surprisingly a 2D platformer, having known nothing about it going in. And it was a game that was suggested to us as part of Fanbruary. This is our third game that we're talking about this month. And the fourth game is going to be bleeding into March a little bit, as we anticipated on the very first episode. But yeah, so this is a suggestion, and it's a suggestion that came in 2 years, at least 2 years in a row.
I think it's been longer than that.
It's been here every day. I receive a letter in the mail that says, why haven't you done Klonoa 2 yet?
I want to say it was suggested for the very first Fanbruary, and has been suggested every year since.
So like 4 years in a row.
That sounds right.
That's pretty, yeah. So obviously we finally had to do it. But yeah, it's a 2D
2.5,
platformer.
yeah, 2.5D.
Yeah, but it has these like other more three-dimensional elements to it. And I do want to talk to you about that first, I think. Like the fact that it has all of these sort of background elements and camera switching and stuff like that, that it does. Here's my impression, and you tell me if you think that I'm insane or not.
Okay.
I did not know anything about this game, had never heard of this game prior to it being suggested to us. And I think that I missed the opportunity to be like a big Klonoa head at some point, because having played this, I was like, this does feel a lot like it could have been really cool when it came out. But because I'm playing it now, I'm like, I can see the vision, but it's not hitting me in like the same visceral way that I think it would have if you played it as a kid.
No, I feel the exact same way. Yeah, I almost like feel kind of similarly, I think, to how like JJ felt about Sly Cooper about this game. Not as negative, but like, yeah, I feel like the time where I could have liked this has come and gone. So yeah.
I mean, that's a little harsh, I would say, at least from my perspective, because I did enjoy this game.
Yeah,
but I think maybe the time that I could have loved it may have passed. I don't know. But yeah, it was definitely a weird one, and it definitely also has, I'm going to stop saying definitely for the rest of the episode, starting now. But it has some 2001 era design problems, I'll say. I think the third act in specifics fell pretty short for me compared to the rest of the game, as like the difficulty ramped up, but in ways that were like unintuitive and not that fun and enjoyable. And I think they may have ran out of new ideas at some point or along the line, when that had been like the lifeblood of the game. Going up to that is being like, what's the new thing that I'm going to have to do in this level compared to other ones?
And I don't know if you looked into Klonoa 1 at all, but it was a PS1 game and was like sprite based, I think, entirely, and didn't have any 3D, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like it looked pretty cool. And I feel like this seems like a series that was a little bit of a victim of like not knowing how to make the jump to 3D. Because this game is in full 3D, and but it's still, you know, a side-scrolling platformer that like incorporates like the most like, you know, simple form of like 3D interaction where you like run around a ring or whatever. So yeah, it does kind of feel like they maybe like struggle to come up with ideas for the third dimension, you know?
Yeah. I think it's like a little bit of both though, because there are areas of the game where I feel like the 3D implementation is very good and novel and cool, and then other places where every boss fight is essentially on a 2D plane but takes place on a donut, so you are like moving around. And there's some like visual things that go along with that, but for the most part it's not that different than just jumping normally on flat ground. So I agree and I disagree, because like I keep coming back to the sequence in one of the earlier levels, like definitely a first act level, where you have to like throw a guy at a crystal that's hanging down like the thing in a bell, and like smash a wall with it like a pendulum. And I was like, that was sick. Like, because I'm interacting with this thing in the background that the game didn't tell me to do, but like because of the way that the camera's set up and like the fact that I have the ability to throw objects into the foreground and background, I can interact with it in a way that maybe you wouldn't expect. Like that part really got me going and like got me excited about Klonoa 2. And I think it lasted for a good while. And I think that those ideas were cool, but I agree there are a lot of things that seem to be 3D just for the sake of being in 3D.
Yeah. And I think the puzzle elements are probably my favorite thing about the game too, but like it just felt like there wasn't a ton of it. And it was just what I thought. Then, you know, my put on the speculation hat that maybe like the reason there isn't a ton is because it's 3D. You know, it's like they're probably their first 3D game and they're not able to like implement it as much because it's more expensive or, you know, complicated to produce.
Yeah. They really hit on a winning formula with the crystal enemy that like turned different colors when it ate more stuff. And they got a lot of mileage out of that specific type of puzzle, which does not require 3D but can incorporate it. That felt like it was a real workhorse for them as far as like the level design went.
For sure. Yeah, and it integrates with the being able to toss things between like different planes of the level and stuff.
Right. Yeah, and those are the best elements, I think, of the game. Because if you evaluate this just as like a platformer, it's really not that exciting. Like I like the concept of having like a double jump that you can only use when you grab an enemy, but it's implemented in a very kind of like bog standard way where the enemies infinitely respawn, so you can't really screw it up that bad. Because if you could, then you'd have to start the whole level over. So obviously that's how they did it. But it felt like there wasn't like a whole lot going on. But then there are things like the bomb enemies who don't explode immediately when they hit a wall. So you can throw them into like a distant part of the background and then either use them as a timer or jump over to them, which were really cool. Even though they're basic, they still kind of like brought me in and went like, oh, this is why the game is in 3D, etc.
Yeah, and I also really liked the implement. Yeah, like you just said, the implementation of like you need an enemy to do a double jump. I think that's a really cool idea because like I was running through the first level and being like, like do I have to unlock the double jump? That's annoying because I was trying to do it. And then you get to the point where it tutorializes it. And I'm like, oh, that's how you were supposed to get up there and get those gems or whatever. Right. And then I had to run back and go pick up the enemy and do the double jump and get the gems. So I thought that was really cool. And then, yeah, you can use them to attack other enemies. So, like, I think that's an interesting concept. And I don't know if there's other games in the series. It almost kind of had, like, Kirby energy. Because I was, like, imagining, like, needing to use enemies to do everything. And that's kind of true. But you also have the element of your ring, which shoots
Right.
out the little whatever wind burst that you use to capture them. So there's like additional layers to it.
Yeah. That is, I will say, I think that you hit on something that I didn't hit on, and maybe why I found myself enjoying this game. This game feels a lot like Kirby 64 in its like visual design and the fact that like it uses that 2.5D perspective. Even though Kirby didn't really do much with it, it was more visual flair. They have a similar look like that, but then also, yeah, it has the same trajectory where you like grab an enemy, like you inhale them, and then you spit out the star, or you throw the enemy, and it's kind of a similar vibe there. And that was a game that I played like a 1 bazillion times because it came out when I was a child,
Right.
and that's just what you do when you're a kid.
Yeah, and I also think like tonally and story-wise, it feels kind of similar to Kirby as well, but we don't have to get into that yet.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's another thing to bring up in a minute. So to stick on mechanics a little bit, I love you brought up the ring. I really like the ring in the way in the Gore Verbinski movie from I really like the ring as it is implemented, in the sense that like you pick up enemies and that's your way of interacting with stuff, and it gives you like a little bit of range. But that little bit of range is my biggest complaint with this game, is there are so many times when I would miss a shot by like what I couldn't even perceive the distance between where the thing ended and where the enemy was. And I feel like if they had just given you a little bit more sort of grapple with that, I feel like it would have been it would have felt a lot better to play, because the worst that this game gets is clunky.
Yeah, it needs more leeway for sure. Like in platforming as well, like there's a part where there's like a level where the robot's chasing you through like the city in like the first third or half of the game or whatever. And there's like, you have to make this jump off of like one hanging thing and jump to another hanging thing, which requires you to shoot it to grab it. And I probably missed it like 6 times before I got it, you know? Yeah. Like little things like that are like really annoying. Or even just like the enemy you have to like bounce up to. They're like the flying ones that'll launch you up really high. It's very easy to like jump up to try and shoot them and just completely miss.
Yep. And also there'd be like times where I would miss or think that I'm going to miss and mash the button again as like a way that it wouldn't have worked even if it connected or whatever. It's a skill issue. But I think it breeds this habit of me like trying to like try to grab an enemy, not get it, and then hit the button again, and then end up like grabbing an enemy and throwing it instead of double jumping with it and then plummeting to my death, which is never great. There are like 3 places in the game, and 2 of them are in the same level, that I found the platforming to be like a genuine challenge, and the amount that it was different and felt out of place in the game was so massive. Like there's a segment in the level that has all of it, in my opinion, is the second arc level, like when you have the boat, the flying boat, the very Kingdom Hearts flying boat that you have to start the engines on, and then there's a level where you have to turn all the engines off. In the turn all the engines off level, they really ramped up the amount of like precision you needed to land certain like platforming segments, and it was very imprecise, and I felt like a massive spike in a way that like a lot of other things went. Like I went into that level with like 11 extra lives or whatever, and actually lost all of them for the first time in the whole game.
Yeah, it is very much like a product of its being released in 2001. That late game difficulty spike.
Yeah. But that is like the biggest, I think, issue, and it is the 2001 thing. There's a big difficulty spike because that was how games were designed at the time. But also there was this clunkiness because it's this early 3D game, and some of the platforming's imprecise, some of the the enemy interactions are imprecise. Like it gets a little shaky when the game tries to push the player a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm. And like it's something I don't know. I don't think this series is still in existence. I feel like it had like some spin-off games. But like it is almost kind of like a shame though, because I feel like the mechanics feel like they could be like a precision platformer mechanics. Like I almost kind of think of stuff like Celeste or like crazy Mario speedrun stuff where people are like throwing and jumping on shells. I can imagine having to like jump, shoot and grab an enemy, throw them, jump up, and like to grab another guy, and like string together stuff so that you're just like in the air forever. Like I feel like this game, the mechanics have that kind of potential. But yeah, like it's obviously, it's like an older game, so it's like a little too stiff. Like if it was a little bit more fluid and more lenient with the hitbox or like the effect of the gun or the ring. I perceived that as a gun for like the first couple of levels before I realized it was the ring that you were using to shoot the wind.
It has like I think they call that like the verb they use for the button is shoot, which does make you think of a gun, and the model is not so big on screen that you're really gonna
it made me think of Rascal. Like I think I called Klonoa the bubblegum kid for a minute. Hey, there you go. Chad's wearing his Rascal t-shirt. Yep. But yeah, it's like like I thought you had like a gun that shot wind out of it, and I was like, oh, that's reminiscent of everyone's favorite game, Rascal.
The best game on the PlayStation 1, Rascal, right?
Yeah, Rascal much better than Klonoa 1 on the PlayStation 1. Obviously.
God, that does sort of tempt me into another line of discussion here a little bit. Because similar to Rascal, maybe not that similar to Rascal, I want to know. I'm appealing to an authority here because you went to like art school,
right?
I look at the design, and I felt this a lot, and I feel like maybe I'm just like not in the demographic, or ever was in the demographic for this kind of design. But I always thought like Sonic the Hedgehog, right, looked kind of stupid. But when you put him next to a lot of other like mascot-y type characters, I feel like it's insane how well designed, how like appealing Sonic the Hedgehog is compared to like Klonoa or any of the characters therein. They have like an almost like, I think because they're all like different in every way, like there are no two characters that look alike except for like there's two cats, I think. It looks very slapped together and like congruent. I don't know. I don't love the design of the characters in this very much.
There's probably some kind of a name for this type of aesthetic. Yeah, it is very late 90s, early 2000s. Like it's like very Digimon, Sonic. That's, I mean, just some kind of Japanese cartoon aesthetic, I guess. I don't know. This is a very different thing, but I remember feeling similar about other PS2 era and PS1 era mascot characters. Like we talked about this, I think, on the Ape Escape episode about how what's his name, Spike. Yeah, and then like I don't personally really like the design of Jack from Jak and Daxter. And like there's other characters like Tack. That was like a PS2 game, Pack and the Power of Juju or whatever racist adjacent name that had. Like I just feel like there was a smattering of PS2 era games that had like B-, C+ mascot character designs. I think unfortunately Klonoa is kind of one of those. It's like it's not a bad design at all. It's just like it feels like it's missing up some punch. Like it needed a few more revisions or reimaginings, I think.
Yeah, it's like a B. It's like a C tier Sonic the Hedgehog hanging out with a bunch of B tier Moogles, and that is kind of how I would describe the cast of this game, because they're like the tall characters who are presumably adult characters in some way or another, which is going to be Klonoa, the girl, the bad guy who turns out to be not so bad of a guy, and then the actual bad guy, the King of Sorrow. And they are all sort of like main characters and are Sonic the Hedgehogs. And Amy, because that's the one human girl, is kind of like designed in the same ilk as, well, I don't even know what species she is in the Sonic games. And then everybody else is a Moogle. I don't know the name of the thing that follows you around and
it's
is
like
the
dog
snarky
or something.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this game's Daxter.
Right.
Yeah, visually not a huge fan. As far as like personality, I think it's fine. Klonoa is just kind of like a Goku type character, except not like powerful enough to destroy suns or whatever it is that Goku does.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I came away with this as like I was positive on the mechanical side of it, and then almost all the presentation stuff felt like it wasn't done in a way that I thought was objectively bad, but was in a way that just didn't land with me really at all.
Yeah. I'd say it's like the C+ level. Like it's not bad, but like there's nothing about it that really stands out. And I do feel like Klonoa could
it feels
be.
Like it should.
Yeah, Klonoa does feel like he could be like a supporting character in Sonic. Like I think you could just plunk him down right in a Sonic game.
Right.
But yeah, he's not quite main character level.
And the whole like world as well. This is a thing that Kirby also does not very well and might be strengthening the comparison. Is like the enemies are also kind of like nondescript blobs with faces a lot of the time. And like some of them are pigs and some of them are other shapes that aren't pigs. But but none of them really sold me on what I was like doing. Like they weren't like, oh, these are the residents of this area. There's like a town, and now I'm verging into narrative stuff, so stop me if I go too far. But it's like there's a town where like everyone there is just all about warring with each other. But right. I didn't get the impression that the enemies you were fighting were those people. They just seem to exist off screen, never to be seen except in the form of a robot that chases you. And otherwise, everything is like, these are just the same enemies from the other levels, who I assume are some kind of invading force, but I'm not really sure about.
Right.
Maybe they are just things that live there and maybe are wildlife. I don't know. I don't know the level of sentience of the enemies I'm fighting in this game, which is a weird thing to think about.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. And yeah, it does kind of feel a little similar to something like Kirby, where, yeah, like, if it wasn't explicitly stated that, like, the town was, like, a warring town, it would almost kind of feel like there used to be people there, but now it's, like, post-apocalyptic, and now like these animals just kind of live here, or monsters or whatever. But like somebody's throwing bombs.
Somebody is throwing bombs for sure. Yeah.
And like there is like a human
note shown up, I would have been very confused.
And there is like a human girl and like a sky pirate or whatever. Like there are some like human-esque characters. So I guess there's more. Right.
Yeah, because Klonoa is not from Lunatea.
Right, he's the dream traveler, or whatever they call him.
He's the dream traveler. Yeah. Do you know any of Klonoa's backstory? Because I don't.
I watched a video earlier that talked about the first game, and I want to say it was like a twist reveal at the end of the first one that like the villain had like brought him into this like other reality to like save it or something, and it was revealed that like Klonoa is not from the place that the game takes place, and he gets sent back or whatever at the end, something like that. So it then gives them an excuse in future games. It's just like, he goes to another wacky dream realm, and that's the game world.
That's true.
So I think that's his thing, is that he just like goes to different worlds and has adventures.
I wonder if this is like a Smash Brothers style narrative where it's like, well, I say that because in Smash Brothers it's like not explicitly stated, but like the game of Smash Brothers is implied to be like an imaginary fight that a kid is playing with toys, and that's like how the Smash Brothers happen. I wonder if this game is like Inside Out, where like each game takes place inside of like someone's head, and this is their dreamscape, and Klonoa goes in to like, I don't know, get rid of their mental illness. That might be a little bit, that might be kind of a stretch.
Yeah. Or like, what was it? What's it called? It's, pseudo regalia. That's the one.
I was going to say Osmosis Jones, which was going to be way off.
No, pseudo regalia is like all takes place in a dream.
That's true, yeah. And I care a similar amount about the narratives of both those games.
Yeah, so spoilers for the end of pseudo regalia.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. But yeah, so I don't know if I honestly am now hitting a wall. We can talk about the narrative because there is a little bit of story. There's but I don't know that I fully grasped everything that was happening. I know that we have a character who is attempting to become a priestess. And to become a priestess, you have to ring the bells of awakening and then get the elements from them. And then go through Sen's Fortress. But then when you're back, it's like, then, I don't know, you ascend to some station that I don't actually know what the purpose of. And our villain is essentially trying to like scoop her on that and become a priestess herself. Meanwhile, I suppose there's also this sage character who's like guiding you, but is secretly the king of sorrow, who wants you to get all of the things so that they can be stolen, so that the bad guy will open the realm to the kingdom of sorrow, allowing sorrow to overtake the land or some such. I think that's the full plot from beginning to end, because all of that just plays out exactly as was planned. And I honestly, when you like laid out like the basics of it, I don't hate it as a story. I think it's actually pretty compelling. I like the concept of a land of sorrow for sure. That's right up my alley. But I found it was hindered a little bit by the way that they chose to tell the story, using like the nonsense dialogue in the text boxes, which isn't abnormal for the era, obviously. But like, I don't know. I found there were a lot of detours and a lot of characters that made it a little difficult to follow, just like beat by beat what was going on.
Yeah, for me, it's weird. It's hard to describe. I think we tried to get into this a little bit on the Kirby episode to continue comparing the two. Because it's this very like on the surface seemingly like kid-friendly, cartoony characters in this cartoony world. And then it's just like the style of storytelling they're going for just feels like it is a tonal like clash for like the characters and the world that they have. Like it feels like it, and I think it makes it feel even more melodramatic than it already is. There's something about it. Yeah. With like, if it's the era, even though they're doing gibberish, I still think the voice acting is kind of bad 2001 voice acting. And yeah, I don't know. I find it really hard to follow, or maybe just hard to get into. I'm very tempted to just hold down the fast forward button, which I like that this game has. It doesn't just have a skip; it has a fast forward button. So yeah, I found it hard to engage with, but I tried.
Yeah. Did you cry at the end when she was like, if you hold on to this feeling, we'll never be apart?
I mean, if you spend too long in the kingdom of sorrow, you're gonna cry.
That's true. It's like the bog of depression. What the fuck?
The swamp of sadness.
The swamp of sadness. Definitely not the bog. Fuck, I said definitely.
The bog of depression. But yeah. So yeah, it's just hard to describe. But like, there's just something about those like cartoony characters, just like engaged in this like melodramatic anime plot.
And it is that essentially, because it isn't like it's not bad bones necessarily. Mm-hmm. It's more like bad musculature. It's you look at it and you're like, okay, I kind of see what they're going for. Mm-hmm. And it has like a beginning, middle, and end, and like an emotional thrust to get through it. There's this storyline with the priestess character kind of like thinking that she isn't able to complete the quest, and then seeing how hard everybody else is working makes her like get up to it. But then it's just kind of like the way that the game progresses is what makes it hard to get into.
Yeah, I feel like you could have like tried to lean into the contrast, and like maybe you could have done something cool with the storytelling in that way. Or or something like Kirby, maybe you could have just been like a little bit more loose and fun with it. It falls kind of in the middle. Like somebody really wanted to tell, like it feels like somebody had this story written as like a potential novel or whatever, manga or whatever they wanted to make, and had no avenue to pursue that. So they were just like, we're like, oh, can we put this in the game? And someone was just like, yeah, we need a story. Put it in.
I'll just throw it in. We'll have somebody talk gibberish over it.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel like it's a story like made to like for like this world and characters. It feels like a separate story that they're just telling through the thing that they already have,
which might contribute to the sort of like incongruity with the character designs as well. Like things just feel kind of like slapped together as a whole. Around a game where they had like a mechanical idea for it. But even that mechanical idea gets kind of like popcorned around a little bit, where it isn't all the same thing the whole time. The game follows like a structure where you have like a platforming level and then like a skateboarding or hoverboarding level into another platforming level into a boss. Like that's how most of like each individual stage goes. And we didn't talk about it, but I actually kind of really liked the hoverboarding levels. I thought they were actually pretty fun. I feel like these have a weird tendency to either be way too hard or control like dog shit. And I felt like the Klonoa ones were actually pretty fun to do. So I was a fan of those. And I was a fan of most of the platforming levels as well. It's just like a lot of the stuff around the edges of it really sort of didn't quite do it. They showed their age is what it really is. Like I don't think that it's, I mean, the story stuff that we were talking about is kind of bad, but I think a lot of it is age related.
Yeah, the snowboarding levels are another thing, making it feel like Sonic. And there were some levels where you were like running away from stuff that felt very Crash Bandicoot as well. But did you find that the level? I know we're kind of bouncing around, but did you feel like the levels felt really long? I feel like towards the middle of the game, the levels felt like they overstayed their welcome by about like 10 to 15% too long.
Yeah, I think that you are exactly right. It happens. It's like almost at exactly the halfway point where the levels suddenly, I mean, part of maybe the reason that I liked the hoverboard levels as much as I did is because they tended to be shorter. That level that I brought up earlier, that's the second part of the like shutting the engines down level. I feel like that took me like an hour and a half, 2 hours or something. That might be more than it actually took, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah, it feels like they decided to go with like less longer levels rather than more shorter levels. So,
But then they also had like kind of a lot of levels.
Yeah, I just feel like it compared to other similar games, it felt like it didn't have as many.
That's fair, yeah. Which is, I think, is an economical choice because it means that you have to make fewer assets, like for each new zone. So I can understand it, but yeah, especially in a game with lives, which I want to say like it didn't really rub me the wrong way because there's only the one level that I thought was like genuinely very difficult, but I've also been playing, and you have been playing platformers since we were babies. And so I can imagine in 2001, when this came out, I would have died a lot, and I would have been kind of frustrated by the length of the levels, I think, at that point. So, yeah. There's a lot of decisions that I think people made in 2001 when it came to their platformer design that I was not extremely hyped on. This is definitely one of those. Oh God, I don't even have strong feelings about the music to like have another topic.
No, yeah, I agree. The music was just kind of serviceable. It was fine, as far as I can remember. The only other thing I have a note on is just that I thought it was interesting that all the bosses were multiple phases.
Oh yeah.
Like, I just feel like I don't remember games doing that. Like I feel it feels like a more modern, like past like 10-ish years kind of trend to me. But here Klonoa 2 is doing it.
I mean, sometimes up to 3 phases in a single boss. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's like obviously it's a thing that's been going on for a while, but it was there because they're phases that are not just like they can be a completely different thing. Like my least favorite boss in the game, the guy who jump up and down,
like the big robot tank thing.
Yeah, but that guy do also jump up and down. The one that's like near the end of the game. It's like the next to last boss that you fight. The second phase of that one is like he rolls around on the bottom of the stage and you have to ground pound him off. And it's just like a fully different function of the gameplay. So it was interesting that we got like phases that were like mechanically very different as well.
And they tended not to give you hearts either. Like you had to beat them in one go. Which I like.
True.
Yeah, I like that decision.
Yeah, it was more of like a big thing. I think there were a couple that had checkpoints.
Yeah, they had checkpoints.
One that I was just talking about did, but some of them don't. Like some of them you have to like replay the whole thing.
Yeah, because I feel like something we didn't really touch on is I feel like this game is definitely aimed at kids. And there's like some parts of it that are like give a lot of leeway. Like if you're like running low on lives, like coins will just show up that just give you extra lives. So like it definitely like has like a little bit of an assist for kids, it seems, but like it definitely does, I think, respect the intelligence of children and does ramp up in difficulty. It doesn't hand everything to you.
Yeah, you will eventually, if you play a game enough, you'll eventually get good enough and beat the game, even as a child. So it is good that like it did, and it never really got, like I said, there's just the one level, so that I thought was tough currently. So I do think it's like there's a give and take there. There's one part where I think the difficulty spike went too far, but otherwise I think it was actually pretty well paced. But then like I said, the third act is not my favorite part. I think the levels get longer. The difficulty spike happens. Everything just becomes like a little bit more nightmarish to deal with PlayStation era controls. And thus the game kind of falls down. Do we have flutter jump thoughts?
My flutter jump thoughts. So yeah, I feel like I probably came off more negative on this than I intended, because I did enjoy playing the game. But I think something that you touched on is like we both grew up playing 2D platformers, like playing them on the NES and like the Super Nintendo, and then kind of moving on to 3D games. And like, not that I dislike 2D games ever since I started playing 3D ones, but I just feel like I played so many. Like, I feel like the market was really saturated with them at the time. Like, I feel like I just played so many that they really have to have a strong hook to stand out to me now. Just playing this now, it feels like it just doesn't quite stand out. But I do feel like I would have loved this if I played it at the time. Like, I know that I would have. I feel like it's just unfortunately one of those games that's kind of hard to go back to. But there is cool stuff about it. I think I like a lot of the ideas and the mechanics. Like, I like the idea of using the enemies for the double jump and the attack. Even like grabbing things with the ring is interesting. As I was saying, I think you could, like, if you'd made a new one, you could, like, with some more like modern fluid controls, could make it probably like a pretty cool precision platformer out of that base. I don't know. It has some charm. We're making comparisons to Kirby, and I feel like, it is like a cool, cute little world. Even if it didn't quite land for me as much as it might have when I was a kid, like, it's still like it was a fun game to spend time in. I don't know. And there is like something kind of amusing about that kind of weird tonal clash melodrama. Even you can't say it's not memorable. I mean, I feel like this one wasn't quite for me, but like it was an enjoyable enough time.
Yeah. I think I came off a little bit too positively on this because I hated playing the game. No, I'm kidding. That was a reversal of the thing that you said. What I mean to say is I think that there are like two big elements of this game to me, and the mechanical ones are like the ring and grabbing enemies and jumping, the way that you interact with the world. I think that all kind of worked for me. I think, as I complained about, there are some levels later on where it becomes a little bit too precise for the level of detail you really have with your controls to meet in a way that makes it not a slog at times. But then most of the presentation stuff, I feel like, probably appeals to some people, but it just aren't really for me, unfortunately. So it was like I liked the idea of having like a colorful platformer to play. And what I got was like more of a puzzle game than I had expected, but in a way that I did actually really like. But then everything surrounding it, the colorful platformer elements of it, sort of were not executed in a way that I thought was super appealing. So I kind of got out all of my final thoughts in the middle of the episode because the game does only a few things, but it does one of them really well, and then the other stuff only okay. Still fine. I liked it. Thank you for listening to Describing the Skybox this week.
What will we be describing next time?
Next time, we're going to be talking about Road Warden, a game that had an identity crisis within our own heads because we both thought it was something different than it was. But it is a text-based adventure game in the style of an Oregon Trail, not in the style of a Zork. If you were like me and the only two games you know that follow this kind of a thing are those two, it's more of an Oregon Trail than it is a Zork. So we hope that you'll hang around for that one as our final episode in Fanbruary. And then we will retake the reins and immediately pick a game that is so unlikable and pretentious. No, I don't know. I don't know what we're doing after this one. We'll see. But until that time, you can get a hold of us. All of our contact information is on our website at describingtheskybox.com. There you can find links to our Blue Sky account, our YouTube channel, and listen to any of our old episodes, including ones that we did on Kirby and the Forgotten Land, I think is what that game is called.
Yeah.
Kirby's Dream Land, Jack and Daxter.
Those are all ones that we brought up.
Yeah.
I feel like we've done other corridor platformers. Astrobot.
You know what we did not ever do? And this is going to shine a spotlight on that fact. Anything with Sonic the Hedgehog in it.
Nope.
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
There you go.
Also has Sonic the Hedgehog in it.
Yep.
Perfect.
I mean, we keep talking about doing that month where we do Sonic and Mega Man, but we just never will.
Wait, well, it's not going to happen. One day, someday, it won't happen. They weren't called Bells of Awakening. This is the problem that I'm having with this. They were something else.
I don't know, like Spirit Bells or something.
Yeah. Ring the bell and get the element, and also get notified every time that the priestess rang a bell in Klonoa. They then were signed up to receive notifications whenever we release an episode. That bell.
Speak gibberish fantasy language to each other in the comments.
And grab a pig and throw it at the like button. And then wait 7 seconds and that will explode and smash that like button. Welcome to Describing the Skybox, the podcast that's like a book club for people who don't think that books reward them enough for being good at them. I'm Chad Ruthermans.
And I'm Andy Kinnick.
And today, we're going to be talking about Klonoa 2, Lunatea's Veil. Lunatea's Veil. I'll look it up and then use whichever one is pronounced correctly, or I'll leave this whole thing in as a joke, which is too long and isn't funny anymore. I'm Chad Ruthermans.
And I'm Andy Kinnick. Didn't we already do this?
We did, yeah. That might be one of the best, and I'm Andy Kinnick's we've ever gotten on the show.